Well, good day, YouTube. Welcome to the series of Dozing for Dummies. We're going to walk you through, we're doing a restoration on a older John Deere 450. Now, when the fellow picked this up, the seller said that this was a 1969, which is just on the cusp of them changing from the dry clutch system to the wet clutch system for the braking. And the fellow that owned it, well-meaning guy, but you know, your standard wannabe dozer man, just buy it, haven't got a clue what it is, get up on board and start moving the levers around and call yourself an operator. Well, turns out it wasn't a 69. You go into the serial numbers, and it turns out that this is a 66 first year. Now, when we got it, you know, he'd said he'd changed some filters and whatever, but we like to know exactly what's going on. And the machine ran good, turned, good steering action. It definitely had some weaknesses. Undercarriage was worn, but overall the machine's in good shape. Had a few things that were curious, mostly in the external C-frame. Now this is the heavy-duty unit with the external C-frame. A lot of you guys are all hot for the light-duty six-way. But if you've got some serious stuff to move, you definitely want your external C-frame. It's what's on all the big boys. D7s and up. This is what pushes. Your internal six-way blade operations are just light duty. You know, your connecting points are directly from the inside of the frame and tracks up to your blade. And any physics professor will tell you, you just don't have the external pushing power, especially in your cutting edge and your toe bit, when you're digging and grading, that you're going to need. You just can't push the same amount. So we're going to start walking you through what all the rest of the JD boys just failed to move. So the first thing we're going to do is look at the tracks, because we knew that the undercarriage was weak, and the one good thing about the John Deeres is that the supplies are still plentiful. You can pretty much get every part you need, and what you can't is easily fabricated. So we're going to take you down to the tracks, and we're going to show you what to actually look for when you're buying your used machine. These are your plates, and these are your grousers. Plates are in good shape. Okay. Always check your bolts. Make sure you look at your bolts, top and bottom. See the condition of the nuts. If the bolt heads, and you'll notice they're special rounded bolt heads. These are special track bolts, high tensile. If these are worn out, it usually means these things done a lot of time in the rocks and ground. But this has been in dirt, so these look not too bad for changing out. Hopefully won't need some heat. Now, the second thing we're going to look at is your rails. And of course here, these are your rails or your chains, whatever you prefer. Okay, now these are well worn. These are pretty much shot. Now, when you come in and you start looking at your tracks, easiest way to determine the wear is, well, you want to look for the obviousnesses. Your inside surface of your chain is what's going to run. This is your center idler. Okay, now I want you to take a look at that here. This is not supposed to be visible on the inside of the link. That there is the amount of overwear on here. Now on your roller surface area here, that's how much worn down. Okay, so that's an easy guide to tell you how bad the tracks are. This top roller is shot. Okay, so we need to replace this. Now, on your rails, okay, you've got a two-part link. You've got your pin inside your bushing. Now, there are a couple videos on there showing these guys reconditioning in the factory and what it takes to push out. Okay, now if these aren't too badly worn, you can do what's called a bushing turn. Okay, these rails right now are running around $3,500 for a pair, so they're not cheap. So in order to get these up off the idler, okay, the reason you want to do that, if you look inside here, I can get a good angle here, there's your bushing. And if you ever hear a cat running, moving back and forth, and you're going to hear that clack, 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 okay, what you're hearing there is your bushings hitting that roller. That's the clack. Okay, and every time the bushing hits that, okay, it's taking a chunk. Now, here's a good shot. You see how that's worn? That's where the wear comes from. That's your clacking noise constantly. And as you can see, the wear surface up top, this one has already been turned. Right? You can see the wear surface on the back. So what somebody do, you take the plates off and you expose all your, this is a long time consuming, but it is cheaper than getting new rails. So this is how you get your maximum life out of your rails. You turn them, okay? So you got to get your propane, oxygen propane torch with your rosebud. You heat these up on both sides, and then you go get yourself your crescent wrench. Now you take that with your cheater bar and with your plate off, and you get in there and you heat it up and you rotate your bushings. Put a nice 6-foot cheater bar on top of that, heat them up, and you rotate them over. You're supposed to rotate them 120 so you can get 3 turns if you really want to suck the life out of these things. So there's your rails. That's what to look for. These are obviously shot. Now you can also see there's your wear on your center roller surface. Okay, that's also, this has gone down probably about a 1/4 inch, because that's about at least a 1/4 inch, because that's the surface area we're exposed on there. So this is obviously going to need to be repaired or replaced. Now what you can do, if you're lucky, good fab shop, this is Bush Repair 101. Right, you're going to get some Schedule 60, Schedule 80 drill pipe, high tensile, and you cut your little sleeve off, put them over, weld your bead around there, and that'll save you a few bucks, especially if you're out in the bush. That'll save you many bucks. Okay, so let's go down. Now we're looking at our bottom rollers. Okay. This is your roller guard. This goes on the bottom of the beam, the track beam. And as you can see, each roller Got the 2 bolts. There's your Zerk fitting for your greasing. Protector cup. You want to get under here, take a look at these. Now, by jacking her up as we've done, we can do an inspection on our underside rollers. And there you see, they are belled, worn out. Now, on the top rail, you see the wear on the link boss. Okay, it's on your bottom chain guard here. This is where that wear comes in. Comes in by touching here, because your bottom rollers have lost probably 3/8 of an inch surface area, which drops that down and allows your chain to come up on your bottom roller, wearing it out, and now it starts scuffing this off. So there's your that's where your wear comes from. Now we're gonna go under here. Now these actually rolled pretty good. There's no play in these things, so the guy did grease them, and they roll really nice. So the bearings are still in good shape, but the wear's just done. It's like a railroad track, they're all tapered in. So they're time for some new ones. The bottom rollers, because the pressure's on them, you just replace them. You can jerry rig them if you're a good backyard machinist, but the best thing is just take them out. Time for new ones. So that's what to look for. Now they're hard to see if the track, we've got this thing jacked up, so the tracks are down. They're relatively easy to replace. Okay. Most of the tracks, most of the cats in the 931 cat, 450 case, 450 John Deere have got 5 bottom rollers. That's the standard spacing for the tracks. These are tractors. Nothing more, nothing less. They're tracked tractors. I love working on them because they're simple. Never get afraid of working on these things and servicing them. Too many of these wannabe operators, like I say, you buy it, you jump on it, decide you're going to be the big operator. You buy it, you beat it, you park it, and you sell it. Everybody taking their turn without ever doing the proper simple maintenance on it. Beating the hell out of these beautiful old machines that'll last 100 years, right? This thing's over 50 years old. Now, here we go. One of the what can you say about that? When I went to look at this for the guy, I was scratching my head. 7/8 plate, and it's broken. I have no idea how that happens. The only way I can think, and we'll take a look at the C frame now. I scratched my head when I came to look at this thing. This thing's been butchered bad. It's nothing bad. It's pretty simple to fix, but it's going to take some. Now, this thing's been diamond. Okay? If you look at the gap between here and your track, between your external beam, you'll see back there, this thing's bowed. Now, you can't do this in a dozing operation. There's not enough weight per traction ratio, even if you go up against a granite wall. You can't push this hard enough to bend that. And I started getting my suspicions. Now, if you look over onto the other seat, you can see how it's been patched and fish plated. I start getting real suspicions here. And we'll come out and take a look at the other side. Now, there's looking down our gap. You can see the bow, and you can see how it's off the rub block. Okay, so we've got some major diamonding in this square. Now we'll come over and take a look at the other track. There's our gap, and this rail is actually straight. So this thing has been pushed and diamonded off in that direction, which means that your corner gussets have somehow, being almost half-inch thick tube, have bent. This plate's okay. This plate has been broken. My guess, this thing went off a cliff. It's the only thing that can possibly break and bend this much. It went over a cliff and it hit hard. So I've looked at this and how to straighten it. And there's no feasible way to straighten it. For what we want to do, we want to get rid of the John Deere on this John Deere. So what we're going to do is we're going to case it out. Because if anybody's ever worked on either a John Deere or a case, they'll tell you flat out, the case is the superior machine. It's better designed, it's more simplistic. They're just all-around better machines. It's what my boss ran when I first started in the business. Just a gorgeous, and we're going to walk around and we're going to show you all the problems with the John Deere. Starting with the blade design. Now, I don't know what engineer could conceive of a mechanical advantage in such a ridiculous manner, absolutely inefficient. You're maxing out this hydraulic cylinder in a cantilevered fashion. The power to ratio for efficiency is ridiculous. You're completely blocking the access to the tracks. I guess if you're going to roll over a cliff, it's a bumper guard, but in any operation, to get in and off this machine, you know, somebody put some handle grips on there, which was probably the safest idea you could put to climb in and up. It's just ridiculous. All your big cats go directly from your front nose down to the blade. You know, it's almost a vertical lift. In efficiency, it's what you want. To come back here, block your access in and out of the cat, it makes no sense. So we're gonna strip this all off, and what we're gonna do, we're gonna rebuild the whole seat frame, new steel. Now, the way they make this is your piece here. This is your trunnion, and this is a weld-in piece here. This is going to sleeve into your tube to where it squares. Here it'll come out like this, so we're going to cut our diamond in to be able to fold it in and weld it. Again, I've looked at this too many times. I've tried to find a shortcut. Easiest way, just rip it out and rebuild it. So we're going to keep our trunnion blocks. We're going to keep our corner gussets. And we're going to keep our fulcrum. And we're going to replace everything in between. Now, the next thing that we're going to cover in this short video here is the John Deere. Too many stupid ideas. Now, if you look at a case, it doesn't have this. This step-in is as dangerous and inconvenient and boneheaded as you could possibly imagine. If you've got to exit this machine fast, the chances of catching your foot on here and tripping and kissing a big chunk of steel. I've been in and out of these John Deeres too many times. They're just ridiculous. So what we're going to do is we're going to do what the case does. We're going to strip off this bozo step. We're going to get some checker plate, bring it out a couple inches so that you've got a flat, level walk space right through. Okay. Now the next stupid thing that John Deere did. This air cleaner is pretty much in the way of everything. It's stupid. I can't believe that some CEO of an enormous company, well established at this time, would agree to having some idiot engineer put the air cleaner under here. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull it out and we're going to external mount it just like a Kenworth off on the side. Now what that's going to do is that's going to free up space under here. Now we're filming this in beginning of February and we got snow coming in tomorrow and she's bone cold today. And wouldn't it be nice to have a heater? I don't know why they never stuck them in here, right? You know, from the dawn of time, these Dozers have been out in the frozen north, and the poor damn operators, you know, you freeze to death under 4 layers of thermal clothing because you got no heat. And yet, there's plenty of heat right there. So we're going to get a nice little heater in underneath here. Pull that out, external mount this right up here. And now we're going to have some heat. Anybody that ever worked these things and get tired of the hand fatigue, nice set of bicycle hand grips works good. So we'll wind it up here and we'll get on later. Anyway, boys, continue watching Dozing for Dummies.